This is Random Randy Savage from Code 45 Podcast, and you're listening to the Geek World All-Stars Podcast Network.
Welcome to the continued podcast adventures of Superhero Speak.
But I think many of the people that love this character and that love superheroes in general have used these stories as inspiration to say, you know what? I'm going to do something good in the world. I'm going to make a difference like my hero when I was a kid.
That is my fondest memory of it, because when you're doing comic books, you want them to affect people.
Right.
You want people to care. You want to strike emotions. And I knew that Clone Saga was striking a lot of emotions.
Can you imagine Pulp Fiction starring Goofy and Mickey Mouse?
I can totally imagine that.
I'm sure somebody's written that one
Quarter pounder with cheese and France, Mickey? What? Royale with cheese, Mickey? Yeah. I can totally.
See?
I would watch the hell out of that movie.
Yes, I gladly sacrifice that my progeny to you, almighty Marvel beast.
But Neil Adams is somewhere going, it's my time.
How do you measure success? Hey everyone, you're listening to Superhero Speak, and I'm your host Dave.
And I'm Zen.
Are you still doing a bit, or can I introduce myself?
Oh, no, you can. It definitely was a bit, not a bite, so go ahead.
I think I'm JD. I don't know what's going on anymore.
Way to ruin the rhythm there, John. Anyway, we have got a jam-packed show for everyone this week. We have lots of social media madness with a couple interesting questions raised. We have news about the Batman movie and the Captain Marvel 2 plus
Crisis.
Disney, and lots of Crisis news. Plus, we've got two interviews. One with Sandy King Carpenter, and the other one is Matt and Brennan Wagner. So, are you guys ready to get this show going?
I suppose.
Yay.
All right. So,
feel the energy.
Well, speaking of energy, why are you so tired, John? You do anything interesting this week?
No. Well, actually, I didn't even say I was tired, but I guess I sound tired, which is thank you. But no, just working on the book, and I'm a chapter into JD's book now. So,
cool.
and I've got some notes here. No.
Once the book's released,
because the book's already out.
Yeah, I was going to say, once it's released, you can do all the notes you want. He doesn't have to read them.
And I'll say thank you.
But I may have questions.
Okay.
But anyway, so yeah, just still recovering from New York Comic Con mostly. Well, me and my bank account.
And watching black holes, apparently.
Yes, well, it's very interesting, and well, okay, it's not very interesting, but it makes a nice background while you're just like reading.
How about you, JD?
I just got home. My the J and the G buttons on my computer don't work, so I had to go to the Apple store.
Huh.
And they have to replace the keyboard. Thank God for Apple Care. Always get Apple Care.
Always.
So, but I didn't get to talk to you guys last week, but the previous weekend, I actually did a writing seminar with one of my mentor figures, a guy named Brian Cohen, and he was really happy with where Harvest Moon is at, my book, as far as like sales and stuff go. We spent very, very little on promotion. It's not burning up the charts, but it's doing pretty good. So he came up with a nice little business strategy for the next few months. And based on that and the rapid release idea, I need to have 3 sequels out to the book by the end of November.
Oh my God.
Well, one of them's done. One's done. So it's like, I got to write from scratch. Another one needs to be rewritten. Like, needs to go through the rewrite process, I should say. And the third needs to, be written. So, I did some dictation while I was at a funeral this weekend, like, on the drive. So, I think I talked.
Not at the funeral.
Not at the funeral.
Okay,
that would have been not cool. I was on nephew duty, actually. So
right.
I was busy. But I think I dictated like 10,000 words on my drive. So that went pretty good. So I need to rewrite the dictation because the software isn't perfect. But I got a decent start. So I got a busy 6 weeks ahead of me.
Wow. That sounds crazy.
On top of this podcast and the new one that we're starting. So, yay me.
Yes. You want to plug your new podcast?
Pro Wrestling Showdown. First episode hit today. Me and regular Scott from Take a Knee from Marvel vs. DC talk about the best stuff in pro wrestling, and we do a nice little cage match segment where we pit two concepts, angles, whatever, against each other, and the fans vote on which was the best.
Cool.
On all podcast platforms.
Yes, except for Podcoin, because that doesn't exist anymore.
What is Podcoin? That sounds like something that doesn't exist.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I just realized a very Batman central week. I finally watched Batwoman, the premiere episode, that we missed while we were in New York.
Yep.
And, did you see it, JD? I know John watched it.
Of course, I don't watch TV.
You don't have time to watch TV, I know.
Didn't you hear he's got like 8 books to finish by the end of tomorrow? I mean,
3.
I don't know. I liked it. It was good. I think they did a good way. I don't know Batwoman, the character, that well from the comics, so I thought they did a great job of tying her into the Batman mythos and explaining her origin. The acting's really good in the only problem I have, but I hope it gets cleared up, is they don't explain why Batman's been missing. Just, he's been missing for a couple years.
Well, that's got to be like one of those overarching, plot points that, that's like a Chekhov's cannon or something. They'll pull the trigger on that someday down the road.
Yeah, hopefully. I hopefully. I'm wondering.
They still don't have the rights to actually show Batman, right?
I don't know how that works anymore.
I mean, even in Crisis, I don't think anybody's actually going to be wearing a cowl except for Batwoman.
I don't know, because it's all Warner Brothers. That's an interesting question.
It's not the same world it used to be with like Smallville. Like, they can do whatever. They're just not doing a Batman in this universe.
Yeah, I mean, because I used to think that about Superman, and then they brought Superman into Supergirl, like it was no big deal. So
now there's 3 of them.
Yeah. And the other thing I did this weekend, I did get around and I finally saw Joker. You two guys did not see it.
And I'm okay. Normally I would make time, but the reviews have been
mixed. It's been mixed, right?
It's been mixed from what I've heard, and I watched like quite a few review sites on YouTube, and they all went and did reviews on it. And it's been mixed, and it's just like it's one of those things where like you just got to manage your time, and sometimes something's got to give.
It seems like it's a movie that's appealing more to the normies.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm trying to think how to say this without spoiling it for you two and our audience.
I personally, I don't care, but
I think JD's still excited to see it.
I was, but I'll be honest, man, it's all been like, clearly if I was excited, I would have gone and seen it by now. I think that, and it's not the thing about all the violence and all of this and all of that, but there's just something about like the mood that's really tempered my desire to see it. I'm sure it's a good movie. I'm sure it's a well-made movie, but I'm just not feeling the urge to just rush out and go see it.
I was going to say, it's a well-made movie. It's well acted. No issue with that. But it's not a good Joker movie. That's the problem. Like, I don't
How the hell did they manage that?
I don't get a Joker vibe from him by the end when he's supposed to be full Joker. It's just like, it doesn't work for me, in that sense. I mean, if you want to make it and we've talked about this on the show, and it's exactly what you thought it was going to be, JD. It's a good study on the psychological drama and a descent into madness or descent into becoming something, but it's not a comic book Joker movie,
Yeah, it's a Joker movie. It's not the Joker movie.
Right. Yeah.
Which I guess is fine. We have really good Joker movies, I still maintain he shouldn't be a protagonist. He should be an antagonist. And
right.
But again, this is a movie made by people who clearly don't like comic books.
Yes, and
interesting.
And we actually have a story related to that. It's just one of those things where it was like, I mean, if I was going to rate it as a overall movie on a scale of 1 to 10, I would probably give it like an 8.5. Because I like those kinds of stories. I like Falling Down. I've always liked that movie. Did you guys ever see God Bless America?
No, I never heard of it.
It's the same kind of movie. It's a guy and a young girl having a bad day, and they go on a killing spree across the United States. And but it's the same kind of like the guy was having a really bad day, and it all led up to this.
I saw that movie when it was called True Romance, or when it was called Natural Born Killers.
There's not a romantic storyline because the girl's younger. It's like it's more like a father-daughter relationship.
Oh,
going on a killing spree. You know,
that's healthy.
Yes.
Wasn't there a French movie that was like that? Like The Assassin or something? I don't know.
Yeah. So I mean, so that's the thing. Like, I guess that left me wanting is like I'd seen this before. And JD, you said this many times: is the Joker should be a force of nature, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I was waiting for that moment in the movie that's going to like shock me, right? Like, oh my God, I can't believe he did that. Now I'm scared of this guy. That never happens in the movie.
And like I said before, it's a different. As long as as long as we as comic people divorce ourselves from this being the Joker, it can exist on its own.
Right.
You know, and it'd be a thing. And like I said, I don't think this was a movie for us.
And then the way the movie ends really frustrated me. And I don't know if I want to give it away or not. Do you care?
Please don't.
Okay. All right. I want you to see it and see if you have the same feeling about the ending of the movie. And I'm not talking about the thing that it's like, oh my God, I can't believe they added this. It's the very end of the movie where it's like, huh. So I just want to see if you...
I think I know what you're talking about because I've read a lot of these, but I get it.
I have not. I try to go into movies as cold as possible now.
Yeah.
So not to have expectations, I think is important.
So that's what I would say to our audience. If you like movies like King of Comedy and Taxi Driver and Falling Down, go see this movie. You'll enjoy it.
Which I do. I like those movies a lot.
If you're going expecting like the penultimate Joker origin movie, no, don't go see this movie.
So I think like, I don't know, this is like, you're going to get the horror GD coming out in a little bit. I don't want to know the origin of the monster.
Right.
Which is funny to read my book. But I mean, like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know how Freddy, like, I don't know, I guess with Freddy Krueger it's kind of different because the origin is the character. But I mean, like, I think the more sympathy you create for the devil, the less scary he is. Exactly. And I think that's the case with the Joker. Like, I don't want to know anything about him. Like, and I hope this doesn't influence the comics at all. Like, because if it was Marvel, they would go all in on it. But I don't think DC will. So, I don't know. I got to see the movie.
So, I think friend of the show and someone that we also... He's been on the show and we interviewed him in New York. So, look for that interview coming soon. Rich Duick.
My boy.
He said... because I put a post on today on Facebook and I was like, spoiler free, tell me what you thought of the movie. And he put up an emoji of a guy like shrugging his shoulders. And then he said, to elaborate a little for me, there was nothing there that could overcome the baggage of it being a story about the Joker. It pretty much the same way that there was nothing in a Star Wars prequels that couldn't overcome the fact that they were a story about Darth Vader. It's like you're never going to get me to empathize or root for them, because I already know they're going to turn out to be the monsters. So rather than being a journey, the story just becomes an explanation, spooling out the honestly inconsequential details that are better served as backstory. To put it another way, let's say the Joker is about to blow up a hospital. Do you really care about why he's doing it, or do you care more that Batman is going to try to stop him?
Yeah, Rich is a genius. That's why he's a good comic book writer.
Yes. And he's a really nice guy too. That helps. But, exactly though, right? Like, in most stories, I'm sorry, you care about the hero coming in to save the day. And I'm scared if we're living in a world where we care more about the villain.
Well, I think that, like, 'cause you can do a really good story about someone becoming a villain. Like, 5 seasons of Breaking Bad shows that.
Yeah.
But that's just different. Like, it's a different type of story. And I'm okay with watching a story about how someone turns evil. But at the same time, like, if it's, I don't need backstory. Like, the last 5 minutes of Rogue One were far superior than 3 prequel films.
Right.
For establishing what Darth Vader is. You know, I'm with Rich on this one.
All right. So,
John, what do you think?
I think that most of the time the villain, the antagonist, is the most interesting character in the book. And I think that's the problem. Most people see that and they say, well, then let's expound just on him. But the problem is he can't exist in a vacuum. He can't be an antagonist without a protagonist.
Mm-hmm. I think it's the Boba Fett thing. Boba Fett's cool because, like, all the colors aren't painted in. You know, your imagination gets to do the work for you.
Yeah. Yeah. But in order to see Boba Fett do cool stuff, you need to have somebody challenge him. It was kind of why, like, Venom wasn't that great, you know? It's like, okay, Venom's a bad guy. All right. So why are we trying to make him look good all of a sudden? I mean, it didn't make any, okay. It was an interesting story, but it wasn't a great story.
To be fair,
yes.
That is not the fault of the movie. That is the fault of Dave Michelinie, the creator.
Yes. Okay.
That has been a problem with Venom since 1992.
I was going to say, but at least in the comics, they tried to make Venom an anti-hero for a while. Whereas in the comics, they've never tried to make Joker an anti-hero, and yet I saw somebody post something where it was like, the new anti-hero Joker movie, and I'm like, that's it, you lost me right there. Like, he is not a hero.
He's not anti-hero by any means. Like, no means at all.
But he is. Like, in this particular movie, he is the anti-hero. He is the protagonist of the story, and he's not heroic. So by the firmest definition of the words, he is an anti-hero, and that is the best description of it. Like, the villain is specifically the antagonist of the story. Like, and I think that sometimes we get anti-hero mixed in with what the Punisher is, like someone who should not be a hero, you know? So in this particular story about a shit person, which I'm assuming, he is the anti-hero. Like, that's the best way to determine it. Like, I don't know what else you would call him in this particular story.
Yeah.
In this story, right. But he was never meant to be that.
Right. And there's nothing DC can do about that. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of people at DC that don't think this is a good move. But they're not going to speak out against Warner.
Right.
You don't live in a world where people can speak out against these multinational conglomerates and still expect to get work from them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't want to speak out against the guy who signed your paycheck.
Not until the movie is universally praised as being a piece of crap, which I don't think this is.
Right. Well, it made $500 million worldwide so far. So.
Yeah, but it's like economies of scale at this point, right? You could put out a movie that's almost total shit, and you could still make a lot of money because there's just that many people. All you need is the right ingredients. Hey, we'll put a little bit of anti-hero in here. We'll put a little comic book in here, and you're bound, no matter how bad the movie is, to at least get a large box office at the beginning, even as fast as word of mouth travels.
You're right. They wouldn't, if they had just done this if this was like a Falling Down remake or like a hardcore take on Shakes the Clown, it wouldn't have done $500 million. They got $500 million because it's the Joker.
Right.
Just on the brand name alone. So in that sense, Warner was right.
Right. They were playing the chart said.
Yeah.
but the problem is that, after that, nobody, it'll be forgettable.
Our research shows.
Exactly. Now, if it had been Krusty the Clown, I would have gone and seen the hell out of that.
That's coming, by the way. Like, don't think the Simpsons aren't doing something like that.
Oh, yeah, of course. Well, there's already memes all over the damn place for that.
You know where you find memes?
On the internet?
On the internet, in social media. So how about a little social media badness?
These have been better. These have been better lately. Hopefully, it doesn't make me want to cry this week.
So first up, of course, we talked a little bit about the Daily Bugle website being launched and the return of J. Jonah Jameson to the MCU. And Hondo and the Chief said, should have kept the flat top, but I dig the new characterization. Although it probably means we'll never see Peter as a photographer for the Bugle, though, and the way they portrayed Eddie in Venom means he probably has too much journalistic integrity to work there either.
I don't know what that means in the second part because I never saw Venom.
Right.
But yeah, probably. I mean, like, we live in a different world where, like, photographers aren't what they were 30 years ago.
Right.
It just isn't that anymore.
No.
So,
I mean, that's the thing. Like, who's a famous photographer in the news for the newspapers anymore. Like,
no, you need guys like, so I worked with a dude about 6-7 years ago, a guy named Ben Lowy, who was a war photographer who literally traveled the world, and he's a phenomenal photographer, but he works for full-time freelance, like he just works stuff for we were working for CNN at the time. Like I did a freelance job for CNN, so was he. And like, he just goes for different places. I mean, that's kind of what the business is now. It's not, I just do pictures for the Daily Planet or the Daily Bugle, and that's it. Like, and it's, let's be real, a teenager doing that job never really made sense anyway.
Well, the reason the kid got the job was because no one could get a picture of him. But we also live in a world where there's a video camera on every corner, right, especially in New York City, and everyone's got a camera in their pocket. So, right, yeah, people have pictures of Spider-Man. So there's not a need for him to become a photographer for the Bugle. So exactly, like maybe an intern job, but not a photographer.
That's what Brian Bendis did almost 20 years ago by making Peter the intern who worked on the website.
Yeah.
So that's always possible. And I think going back to the crew cut thing, I think giving him the bald head sells us, we're comic guys, it sells us in this being a different universe.
Oh, agreed. Definitely. John, you're being quiet.
I had a lot of thoughts on that one.
No, not a lot of thoughts. I mean, I knew some photographers a while back, and they would basically tell you that photography died when Kodachrome stopped being made. So yeah, well, but yeah, not many thoughts on that. Just
all right.
Now I got Paul Simon stuck in my head.
You're welcome.
Don't take my
Kodachrome
away.
Mama, don't take my Kodachrome. Mama, don't take my... Sorry. I'm done.
All right. So I just also wanted to share, and I'm going to include a link in the description to this, one of the most awesome videos of all time that you shared with us on social media, JD. Take Captain America fighting Thanos with Thor's hammer and put Transformers, the touch behind it.
Oh no, this was brilliant. Did you see this, John?
No, I did not, but now I have to.
You have to.
Click on the link in the email right now.
I don't. You're not on Twitter, are you, John?
Yes, he is.
I have an account, but
he has an account, but he never uses it.
You're not really on Twitter. This is fantastic, and I showed my son, and we have listened to. He calls it Optimus Prime song 1,000 times in the last 5 days in the car. Like I forgot this is why we got onto this. Like this is the coolest damn video, and it works so well. John Grosjean, I believe is his name. Bravo, sir. You probably don't listen to the show or know who we are, but you are incredibly talented.
Well, we'll make sure we give him a shout out on Twitter for
shouting him out. Shouting from the rooftops.
Cause you've got the touch.
Yeah, I'm catching a little bit of it now. That's pretty cool, actually.
He's got the power.
It's so well done. Like, yes, that is a cheesy as hell song. But to people of a certain generation, that song carries emotional weight.
Oh, yes. Very much so. The Optimus Prime song.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Like I said, Andy's walking around going, "You got the touch" everywhere we go now, and it's awesome. I'm the best dad ever.
All right. Now, our next two raise a couple, I think, serious questions. And we got a couple, I think, articles also related to this. We'll get to this all in due time. We talked about the first look at Superman, Brandon Routh as Kingdom Come Superman in the Crisis crossover, and multiple contributor Rob Foster said, so Superman Returns was originally meant as a replacement Superman 3, meaning Routh was placeholding for the late Christopher Reeve. So, at its core, is this Reeve Superman supposedly the Kingdom Come Superman?
That's a great question. I don't know. My first thought is we don't necessarily know that Brandon Routh is playing the Superman from Superman Returns, do we? He's playing a Superman.
He's not.
Yes, you can easily say, yes, it's a separate Superman, but then why not have someone else be the Kingdom Come Superman? Remember, originally we thought...
it wouldn't be as cool.
Because you've got somebody who had the blessing of Christopher Reeve, who played Superman in a movie, right there.
But no, what I'm saying is originally we were saying, well, maybe Tom Welling will be the Kingdom Come Superman, but it's like, no, he's going to stay as the Smallville Superman.
I couldn't live in a world where that Lois Lane, Erica Durance, was murdered. I couldn't do it.
By the Joker.
I don't know, man. It's a great kudos to Rob on the question. That's a really good question. I don't think so, because like, I think if that Superman, like I'm just talking to the core of that version of Superman, if that version of Superman becomes the Kingdom Come Superman, I think it could, I don't want to say ruin, but go against a lot of the tenets that the Donner Superman was established under. I don't think it's the right way to go. I think this is a different Superman. It could be, now, that being said, I still don't think of the Superman Returns Superman as the Christopher Reeve Superman. That's just me, though.
I don't know. It's an interesting thought. But with some of the news that's coming out and what our next Twitter kind of said, it's got me really thinking about Crisis on Infinite Earths and what it meant to the comic books and what could it mean for DC in general going forward with live action. So, of course, we mentioned Tom Welling and Eric Durance are reprising their roles as their Smallville characters of Clark Kent and Lois Lane in the Crisis on Infinite Earths. And our good friend Random Randy Savage said,
"Dig it.
Yes to all this. This should be the end of the Arrowverse as we know it. Everything should change, and you can tell everyone walking around like the store is closed. Everyone is walking around like the store is closing. Right? Because Crisis on Infinite Earths collapsed the multiverse into one.
Well,
in the comic books.
Right.
So
they may not quite do that in this one, or they may. We still don't know if Kara's universe and Black Lightning's universe and the Arrowverse are all combined at this point.
I could see them merging the universes.
I mean, supposedly they are going to, but, you never know with these guys.
But I'm saying this is going beyond merging just the Arrowverse shows into one universe. They're pulling stuff from every live DC thing that's ever been done and bringing it together.
Counterpoint. Are they pulling from or eliminating? Let's not forget what happened in the Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Well, yes. Yes, exactly.
They could be killing all these worlds.
Well, they're not. No, they're not. I don't know. I mean, like the original 1990s Flash world, that might be going away because
that's what I'm saying.
Last season, the only thing we saw of that was all the heroes were down, and the only one that was left was Flash anyway.
I do think that Flash will wind up saving the universe. Personal call, but
I agree too.
I think that they might be just bringing in all these universes to destroy them. So that you're left with, so that the amalgamated universe would probably be like the Supergirl universe, so with the Arrowverse and then the Black Lightning, and that would be like your hub universe. Your what do they call it? I think it was called a New Earth when they did that.
New Earth.
Well, as long as they get rid of the one with George Clooney and the Bat credit card, that's fine with me.
Is that the Batman 89? I mean, I don't know. That's another debate for a different time.
They could be different Batman.
Yes. So that thought was brought to us by, of course, Randy Savage, who is half of the team over at Cult 45, who are other joint members with us in the Geek World All-Stars Podcast Network, which includes Pop Prism Power Podcast, So Wizards, Cult 45, Fans on Patrol, Gorilla Brain Podcast, and ourselves. So make sure you guys check out those other great podcasts. And, check us out on Twitter and look for the hashtag GW All-Stars. So, alright, on that note, boys and girls, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
And we're back from the future. Something's got to be done about your kids, Marty. Oh, sorry. Boy, do we have some interesting news to talk about this week. So let's start with Brie Larson. I love the title of the article is Brie Larson gave us an update on Captain Marvel 2. And then when you read it, she basically is like, I don't know what's going on with it.
That is an update.
I've got no I've got no scheduling. I've got no script. I've got no idea when it's coming out. So, I mean, the movie was a big success. So they're going to definitely make a second one, right?
Maybe.
I mean, go ahead.
Well, it'd be. I mean, I swear they're gonna make another one. I mean, the first one wasn't that bad. I mean, it was the first one was good. I mean, it had the best de-aging. They spent a lot on the de-aging CGI for that, and the storyline was solid.
It's fine.
Yeah, it was no Dark World, so
it's a lot better than Iron Man 3.
Yeah, this is true.
I don't know. I liked Iron Man 3. I'm that weirdo. I know.
Well, I didn't think Iron Man 3 was that bad either. I still think that Dark World was the worst.
Yeah. Oh my God, that was
unless you include Ang Lee's Hulk.
Oh no, let's not.
You don't include.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I just don't think they have the. I mean, like, we don't know what they're gonna do. Like, we still have very loose. It seems like this phase 5 is that where we are? I keep forgetting.
4.
4 seems to be more about establishing new stuff and setting up a new world. So I don't know. Let's see where it goes. Hell, we didn't know there was another Spider-Man movie coming out till 2 weeks ago.
This is true. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think. It's weird because it seemed like they kind of rushed. I want to say rushed. Yeah, no. Some of the movies seemed rushed in the beginning, and now it's kind of like, nah. We'll take our time to getting around to Captain Marvel 2. We'll take our time getting around to Guardians of the Galaxy 3. We'll take our time getting around to Doctor Strange 2.
Black Panther 2. Black Panther made a lot of money.
Yeah.
And they haven't. Coogler's like taking his Coogler time.
His Coogler time. Yeah. So.
I think they're having trouble with logistics with the whole Disney Plus thing and all the new TV shows and all that and tying those in. And I think their whiteboard with the timelines and trying to keep everything straight is like probably the marker probably goes onto the wall across the ceiling and on the other side on the other wall. So
it sure does seem like they are more focused on playing with the new toy at the moment.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, the fact that they're doing shows that tie into the MCU on it shows like they want this to be the thing. They want this to be successful and people to watch it. And yeah, it's where all their money is right now. Bastards. But speaking of new toys over at Disney, it has been revealed that Disney has greenlit Deadpool's total involvement in the MCU, meaning he can
that they're doomed. They're all doomed.
He can still be the Deadpool we all know and love in the MCU. Now, the article's kind of doesn't really give a lot of details. I had heard somewhere that what they have agreed to is his standalone movies, he can be as bad as he wants, but when he's in an MCU movie, he's going to be a little more PG-13.
That's because Captain America will come back from the past and slap him with a language.
I think that's the way to do it, actually.
Yeah. So what's also interesting is that it said in this article, and this is on, I didn't even realize what website I sent this from, but I've seen it somewhere else too. Basically, it's also said they're not sure who's going to play Deadpool in the MCU. Now,
wait, what?
Well, did you see Ryan Reynolds' tweet today?
No.
Ryan Reynolds tweeted a picture of himself in front of the Marvel Studios sign, like he was at the building. And he said, I auditioned for a role of Anthony Stark, but they told me that they passed.
Okay.
So he's clear, yeah. They're going to do something with him.
Yeah, because like as soon as Deadpool 2's round of news and everything was done, he started talking about, oh yeah, next we want to do X-Force as a movie, and I've got ideas and blah blah. So like, yeah, he's the force behind the Deadpool movies. He's not going to he's not going to just say, oh okay, I'm walking away now.
Well, they can't stop him. Who's going to say no to him at this point?
Right,
Disney. They could.
I don't know if even they have that power at this point.
Well, the thing is, they're not stupid. They're not going to take something that's successful and completely throw it away. That's Sony's job.
Yeah, well, Sony and Fox and
Fox is not a thing anymore.
Right.
Yeah, true. That's true. That's right. Ooh, right. That's right. Fox is part of Disney now, right?
Yes.
Fox is
Yeah.
just
So yeah, they very well can throw something away that was profitable.
Yeah, but I don't think they're going to. I think they'll keep Ryan Reynolds. Oh, and then of course they also said, well, there's the issue that the actor who played Cable and Thanos, Josh Brolin, it's like, he played both roles. It's like, does anyone really care? Because especially he was CGI as Thanos, right? So
they don't look alike.
Right, exactly. You can get away with that. That's not an issue. Don't worry about it. They'll just make a joke about it to explain the continuity differences and move on.
Yeah. I mean, even Deadpool made a joke about it, right?
Yeah.
So he made a joke about the continuity issues with the X-Men movies. So, all right. So we talked about the Joker movie, right?
Ad nauseum.
Yes.
And one of the producers of that movie was Martin Scorsese, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Apparently he doesn't like Marvel movies.
Oh, that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he basically said they weren't cinema, and then he was recently asked to expound on that when he was doing press for his movie The Irishman, and he basically said the value of a film that is like a theme park film, for example, the Marvel pictures where the theaters become amusement parks, he explained. That's a different experience. It's not cinema. It's something else. Whether you go for it or not, it is something else. We shouldn't be invaded by it. And then
I could care less what he says.
And then he went on to basically say, like, the theater should fight against this because, they put these movies in multiple screens and it's harder to get some movies onto certain theaters because, if they've got 4 screens, but 2 of them are showing the newest Avengers movie, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, don't you realize that the theaters want to make money? So JD, you're the film guy. What do you think of, is he just following, in the footsteps of, another great filmmaker,
Spielberg. I think it's a generational thing.
Yeah.
Spielberg surprises me more with his thoughts on this than Scorsese does. Martin Scorsese is a guy who came up through independent film and was one of those 70s maverick filmmakers who made it's funny, these guys all made their bones on doing things outside the studio system and yet all became gigantic cogs in it. Scorsese's the one who's existed on the fringes. The only one who'd probably be a little bit more on the fringes would be Lynch. But like, Scorsese does his own thing and tells his own stories. Mm-hmm. I do think that these are movies that don't appeal to him. I don't think he's right in stating on what is cinema and what isn't. Like, it's arrogance. It's filmmaker arrogance. It's telling you what you can and can't make as a movie. And I get what he's saying is like, we should celebrate cinema. And at no point in filmmaking has independent cinema been more easy to consume than right now. You can pick up any number of streaming apps and watch hundreds of great independent films that, quite frankly, are not really meant to be screened on these gigantic big screens. They're not meant like that. Mm-hmm. Like, the movies that are screened at theaters these days are big budget spectacles. Right? And that's keeping the business afloat. Because without big budget spectacles, theaters will go away. And I get what he's saying, but this is simply a case of an old baby boomer forcing his opinions on everyone else. Because that's what they do. Baby boomers have had the world revolving around them since 1946. And everything has to revolve around what the baby boomers want. Like, everything was about the baby boomers for so freaking long that the whole world has to revolve around what they think. And now that they're old and obsolete, they're doing nothing but complaining about it because the world doesn't revolve around them. In college, I had a advertising professor who made the same statement to me back in 2001 and said, this country's going to be in trouble when the baby boomers realize that they're not important anymore. And sure enough, if that man wasn't prophetic, and he was a baby boomer himself. So, I mean, I do find it like there's certain networks that revolve around nothing more than old people complaining that the world is passing them by. And I love Martin Scorsese's work. Taxi Driver's fantastic. Mean Streets, his first film, boy, is that a great movie. But there can be other kinds of movies, right? And you can watch to your heart's content any art house film. And there are art house theaters, and there always have been. But the local Cineplex is not going to play those movies because they won't stay open. There's not.
Careful, don't fall off your soapbox.
Oh no, you asked me for my opinion. You were getting the full JD. I wasn't on last week.
See, he's got it saved up.
I got stuff. I didn't know we were doing this till today. But but it's just like this. I love Scorsese, but your opinion doesn't matter here.
Yeah, it's so funny. I see it all the time. The millennial versus the baby boomer arguments.
Shit's real, man. That shit is real.
Online all the time, and it's like, as a Gen Xer, I don't really give a shit.
Right.
Like, we are the slacker generation. It's like, whatever, just leave us alone. We just want to, like, smoke some pot and watch some TV.
That's what it is. The baby boomers are the shell of the hippie me generation that tried to, like, not fight for, like, all this change, and now they're just old and crabby.
Right. Because no one listens to them anymore.
And they become exactly what they hated.
Right. Exactly. My generation didn't do that. We didn't care.
Anything.
So, anyway.
Fuck him.
I think it's weird that he's saying this. And again, like somebody pointed out that he wasn't involved with the final movie, but he was heavily involved. And his influence is all throughout that movie.
Dude, Todd Phillips is trying to make a Martin Scorsese movie.
But, I mean, he did it's like the Joker, it's like, De Niro's in it because Scorsese was involved in it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, now all of a sudden, comic book movies bad. Like, wait, what?
But at the same time, we spent like 20 minutes talking about how the Joker really wasn't a comic book movie.
I understand, and I'm sure a big part of that was someone had an idea for, like a remake of Falling Down, and went, ooh, what if we made it the Joker movie, and get Scorsese to do it. It was like, oh, okay, cool. But it's just like, like my thing is, again, yes, it's not a typical superhero movie, but it's still based on a superhero character, a comic book character. Like, careful what you say when you just help make that movie. Now you're going to come out and start saying this? Like, just shut up, man.
He was happy to cash a paycheck.
Right. Yeah.
He ain't giving it back for artistic purposes.
No, he used it probably to finish making The Irishman.
Probably did. And good for him if he did. There's a lot of actors and directors that do that. One for you, one for me.
It's the only way you get independent stuff made sometimes.
Right. You use the money you make on this to pay for that.
Right. And it doesn't take away from Taxi Driver or any of his other great movies, but it's just
independent cinema's in a great place right now.
Yes.
Like they're just mad. Guys like him and Spielberg are mad that it's different than when they were kids.
I wonder if they're mad because they're not making billions of dollars. Like
they are making billions of dollars. Steven Spielberg has made a lot of money.
Okay, Spielberg, but like Scorsese, like what's the last time he had a movie that made that kind of money?
He's done well. Like his movies are gigantic successes. Like, and he's a dude that stayed true to his artistic integrity. I'll give him all of that. But, I don't think he's a guy that ever cared to be that kind of filmmaker. Like, he makes Martin Scorsese movies, and they're great. Goodfellas is one of the greatest movies ever made.
Yeah.
Like, but I mean, like I said, it doesn't take away from the stuff anyone else wants to do.
Right. No, this is true. You know what's another one of the greatest movies ever made? Three Amigos. I think it's time for a remake.
That is a good movie.
And who better to star in it other than Chris Hemsworth, Chris Evans, and Robert Downey Jr.?
That's just as dumb as the original.
That is true. Yes.
That was Chris Hemsworth's idea. He would like to do a remake of the Three Amigos with the three of them.
Throw in a Ryan Reynolds and you got people hitting the seats.
John, would you go see that movie if they made it?
Yeah, considering how those guys can play off each other, yeah, I would.
Okay. And you, JD?
My little buttercup. Yeah, I would totally see it.
Now the question is, who plays which character?
Okay, so Hemsworth has to be Steve Martin. Robert Downey Jr. would have to be Martin Short. And Chris Evans is Chevy Chase because that's the only one left.
You think?
Well, it's Hemsworth's idea. So he would have to be the lead, right?
Yeah, I agree, but Hemsworth, he's good at playing the dolt. I mean, look at the Ghostbusters movie. He was the best thing in that.
To be fair, they're all adults in that movie.
Yes, but I think Martin Short is the dumbest one.
Yeah, but Downey Jr. is the best actor.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, they'd be different. It would be a different movie. It wouldn't be like a spot-on remake. Like the characters would all be different. But I would like to see this. I hope this actually happens, actually.
All right, so we're going to start a change.org petition to get this made.
Because those always work.
Oh, always. They're the best things on the internet. Sign up at the link down below. No, just kidding. I just thought it was the funniest thing, and it's like, I keep seeing it pop up on social media, and I'm like, all right, we got to talk about it a little bit. And yeah, I think I would go see it. I love that movie. So yeah. It's definitely a movie you wouldn't win an Oscar for. You know what's another movie that someone won't win an Oscar for?
Who's the Joker?
No, Endgame. So for your consideration stuff is going out for the Oscars right now, and of course, Endgame, Marvel put out theirs, but they left Robert Downey Jr. off for Best Actor, and fans were upset at first, but Robert Downey Jr. has come out and said, no, I didn't want my name on the list. Which is a surprising move for, I think, any actor, right? What do you think, John?
I think he was listening to Martin Scorsese. No, I have no idea why. Did it mention why? Because I can't imagine why.
He was on Howard Stern talking about it. And
this would have gotten it out of him.
Well, this was the quote, and I didn't quite get it. I'm so glad you brought this up because there was some talk about it, and I said, let's not, and because I'm much more like you than you might really want to believe. I listened to the show, and I agree with most all your opinions. Varied though may be, occasionally you'll go on some tributary trail of thought. Wow. I'll go like, oh, that's not how I see it, but I love that you see it that way. So, right. He said, I'm glad you brought that up. And he said that he was the one, but then he went off on a tangent. And it's like, I don't understand the response. So, I don't know. It's weird. Like, I can kind of see, if you're an actor and you take your craft seriously, like, maybe you're thinking this isn't a movie that's an Oscar performance, so don't even bother putting it on there so I know I'm not going to get it. But, well,
there's nothing that says you can't. Yeah, I mean, why not take the chance? He doesn't want to be recognized for it for some reason.
I don't know if he cares. He already has an Oscar.
Oh, that's true.
He doesn't seem to be the type of actor who goes and chases those type. From a recovery, okay, let's look at Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, yeah,
in a nutshell. Being a recovering addict, he doesn't seem to be the kind of guy who chases superfluous accolades anymore. Like, he seems much more in tune with himself these days. So I just don't, maybe he doesn't care.
Yeah, I mean, considering he's going from playing Iron Man to Dr. Dolittle.
Right. But he's just doing the kind of stuff he wants. I mean, how many guys get the rebirth that Robert Downey Jr. had?
Right.
Second chances.
Yeah, like he's the definition of it. So I just don't think that, like, I think a lot of actors can get, like, wound up in, like, the chasing of the trophies.
Right.
And I just don't think he cares anymore. Because he's had one. He got one, like, almost 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm guaranteeing it didn't bring him happiness.
Right. And I think he's been nominated a couple times since then, right?
Yeah. Did he win for Tropic Thunder? He was nominated for it. Boy, has the world changed in 10 years.
Yeah, no kidding. Don't look that up.
No, look it up. we accidentally rented that when it first came out on demand for New Year's Eve. We usually watch a bunch of movies, and my son was like 8. We had no idea that was going to be the movie.
It's a great movie. When Ben Stiller is on, Ben Stiller is on.
Yes.
But like I said, I just don't. He's been there. He's been there, done that.
He doesn't have an Oscar. He's been nominated for Best Supporting Actor in Tropic Thunder and Best Actor in Chaplin.
I thought he won it for Chaplin.
Yeah.
No, apparently he didn't.
Huh? Maybe he just doesn't care.
Interesting. Very interesting. What's wrong, Robert? Really, what's wrong? We want to know.
Well, no, maybe it's like JD says. He doesn't care anymore. I mean, he considering the crap he's been through in his life, he's probably got a much wider perspective of things than, he probably understands that having that gold. I mean, what is even needed for him? Most actors are going for it so they can get better, get their choice of jobs later. He's done.
He can do whatever he wants.
He just did a 10-year stint on one of the most popular franchises for the next 100 years.
Yeah,
and made a fortune.
I was going to say, that's the other thing. You win it to raise your value so that you can get more money on your next project. But yeah, he made an insane amount of money playing Iron Man.
And he literally did it after turning his life completely around. He literally has nothing left to prove.
He's like the greatest. I think, I'm going to stick with this. I think he's the greatest acting comeback story ever.
All right.
Yeah, I'm sure there's. The most publicized one, maybe it's just because it's our generation, but I can't think of even a hint of anything else like this.
Because he was there were times you thought you'd read Robert Downey Jr. dead.
Yes. Yeah, you were just waiting for him to overdose.
Because he had that remember Charlie Sheen had that big meltdown probably 7-8 years ago. And we never
Tiger
hear
Blood
from him anymore. Yeah. But you never really hear from him anymore. Robert Downey Jr. had those moments. But look what he became since then. It's actually inspiring, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah. You know who else has had a great comeback story and has nothing left to prove?
Go ahead.
Yes.
Zoe Kravitz. Oh, wait. No, she hasn't. But she's our Catwoman, guys.
Not your best segue.
No,
that didn't. And okay.
Oh, I like this. I think this is a good one. I think she's a good call for it.
But as far as that's concerned, I don't know what her acting chops are, but it sounds good.
She was in, I was thinking of her she was in First Class, and she's fine in that movie, but that was 10 years ago, She's, I don't know. She's the third generation actress, so I'm curious.
Yeah.
How bad can it be?
Pretty bad. It could be really, really bad considering.
Well, it's one of those things where a lot of times those roles are played because those roles are picked because of the chemistry they have with the lead actor. So you have to imagine she screen tested. You have to imagine she screen tested with Pattinson, and they have some kind of chemistry, and it worked out, and they're like, okay, there's our Catwoman. The question I have is, how good is Pattinson going to be? We still don't know. He's not a bad actor, but we don't know how he's going to be as Batman. And do we need Catwoman again already?
We just got a Joker movie, so none of that stuff matters. I have some shocking news for you guys. This is her second performance as Catwoman.
She did a voice in a cartoon?
She was the voice of Catwoman in the Lego Batman movie.
Oh.
Okay.
That was just on Cartoon Network tonight.
It's amazing how if you do any work for DC, they always somehow bring you back.
It's actually kind of accurate.
Yeah, I will say that they have a great track record of reusing actors and bringing people back for things.
Right. The problem is that they're not consistent with what they make you do when they bring it back.
They're consistently inconsistent.
Yeah.
She was also Mary Jane in Spider-Verse.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember that now. Okay.
So I'm going to stick by this one and say, you know what? I'm okay with this.
If it wasn't such a horrible movie that... Oh, wait.
We don't know yet. We don't... Yeah,
no. He's talking about Spider-Verse. I refuse to dignify that because the world is me right.
Yeah.
Oh, it's using Fury Road, too. Yeah, this is good.
Okay.
Yeah, this is...
Well, now we just have to worry about the writing.
Yeah, which, who knows?
Right.
Right. We have no idea at this point what the story is going to be. Yeah, I don't know. Like, cause another thing is, I was thinking about that earlier, like, Patterson's 33, right? Like, yes, he's younger than Affleck, but he's still not, like, young
30
enough.
30 isn't what he used to be, though, man. Like, people in their 30s don't look like people in their 30s in the 70s.
And I agree with that, but I mean, it's like, I don't think they're going to do another origin, right? Like, no one wants another Batman origin movie.
I have no idea.
They're going to do a Catwoman origin movie.
I
don't know.
That's the problem with the DC. Since they keep rebooting everything, they keep retelling their origin stories.
Well, it's almost as bad. I mean, so how many times did Sony kill off Uncle Ben?
Just two. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they are going to give us a different story because there was a big complaint about it. And I'm going to because Matt Reeves has been on this thing for so long now, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and assume he knows we don't need to see that anymore. Right? Until I see Pearls falling, I'm going to cut him some slack.
Exactly.
Oh, there'll be Pearls.
She is Lisa Bonet and Lenny Kravitz's daughter, which I knew.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
But that also
perfect
means
genetics.
Her grandmother was on the Jeffersons.
Okay, who was she on the Jeffersons?
Oh God, I can't remember the name. The neighbor. It was the mixed marriage.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Can't remember their name.
Well, hey, Jeffersons have been off the air for like 40 years, so. But yeah, no, I'm good with this. Let's just wait and see what happens with the writing. But at least they got a good actress.
Yeah, she's beautiful. I think she's talented, and it's a different take on Selena Kyle. I'm okay with this, man. I think this has some potential to be something interesting.
All right. So now we bring it back full circle. We talked about the Joker. We talked about inclusion of people on Crisis on Infinite Earths. And we have two more pieces of the puzzle that came in this week. First
I feel like this is all we talk about on this show is this Crisis on Infinite Earths.
This better be damn good.
Well, I think every time we turn around, it's like, okay, that's it. They couldn't possibly fit anymore. What do you mean this person's coming on now?
So to start off, it's been spotted on set. There's a newspaper, the Gotham City Gazette, and it's a picture of Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne, and it says Wayne Tech CEO Bruce Wayne to marry Selena Kyle. So that obviously they're not having Michael Keaton come and play Batman, but they are acknowledging the existence of that universe.
Universe 86, right? They're calling it?
Say that again?
Or is it they're calling it Universe 86 or something?
Sure.
What did they call it? I mean, shouldn't it be 89?
Yeah, I was going to say
Batman 89, that's right.
All right. And then, John, you, I think, are the one that brought this to my attention, because it's one of your favorite shows. Tom Ellis has been spotted on set, to be Lucifer.
Yes. Now, this is going to be interesting because Lucifer came from Vertigo.
Right.
But still, I mean, Lucifer is a main character in the DC universe, as with a lot of the angels and all that. So,
who is his enemy? Who is his opponent?
He doesn't have an opponent.
He does. John Constantine.
Oh, well, technically, yeah, but
I can't see them.
The thing is that Lucifer is a multiversal entity, right?
Yes.
I mean, they dumb it down for the TV show, but in the comics, there's only one of him for all universes. So
and he's gone battle with John Constantine on numerous occasions. So I think fits.
They have Constantine in that universe already, so it's not a big stretch to have him, but that actually makes a lot of sense, because I don't know a lot about the Lucifer character, but he would be a character who would have an understanding of what's going on in a crisis like this.
I think we're going to get one little scene with him and John Constantine doing a little discussion, and it will be cool.
I mean, I can't believe that they got the rights to be able to do this, or that the go ahead. This is Literally, this whole crisis thing is a boulder rolling downhill, and it's just gaining steam, and nobody can stop it. So anytime somebody mentions another character from a TV show where you couldn't possibly get the rights to get that person on, somehow it's happening.
Yeah.
Well, this isn't a rights thing. It's actually, this case is getting Fox to work with them.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, this is
no.
Netflix.
They're not on Fox anymore. They're on.
It's on Netflix.
No wonder they got them to work with it, because the producers probably don't care. It's advertising for their show on Netflix.
Yeah,
Genius.
Advertising for the final season, but the previous season.
You got to get those downloads. You know.
Yeah. So this is true. That makes it easier. But again, like they even, I mean, it's.
Wouldn't it be cool
Go ahead. Wasn't the original Birds of Prey on Fox though?
Oh yeah, but that was canceled. So those things.
Right, but
shows.
I don't think we mentioned this on the show. The actress who played the Huntress is going to be on this now from Birds of Prey. It'd be cool if they tied the end of Lucifer into this as well.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if they're going to tie the end of Lucifer into this. That's a completely separate story. I don't know how but that would be like if they pull that off, because the final season of Lucifer is taking place on Earth, and
when are they supposed to release it on Netflix?
I don't know. I think they're filming now.
Because if the release ties into the date that this airs, which is over the holiday season, basically.
I didn't even think about that. June 26th.
Mind blown.
Yep. No. Season 5. Yeah, season 5, but I don't see a release date for it yet.
So it's good. It's good advertising for the last season.
Oh wait, no. I'm quickly scanning. Damn it. Oh, they don't say. I'll figure it out in a second. Go ahead.
That would
I'll break really awkwardly though.
How many episodes is this again?
I think it's just 5, right? It's one for each show. So
Well, it's not. They're not doing Black Lightning. Black Lightning is going to be in it, but it's not. They're not crossing over with his show.
Okay, so Supergirl, Batwoman, Arrow, Flash, and Legends of Tomorrow.
And then from what I've heard described, a very special first episode of Guardians of the Galaxy of Legends of Tomorrow.
So 5 episodes total?
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah, so 5 hours.
Yeah, you can make that work with all those characters.
I think so.
Well, 5, maybe total 3.5 with all the freaking commercials they're going to stick in there.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
But that's still 3 hours. I mean, they managed to do that with Endgame.
Exactly.
Give everybody a shot.
You're not establishing characters for this. Like,
I know, they did it right here.
Because even the Monitor they introduced last season. So, like, you're familiar with all the characters involved with the story.
Yep.
Nothing.
Oh my god. Whew. This is nuts. All right.
It is. It's awesome, though. I can't wait to see it. I'm thinking maybe we do a live watch of it. I don't know.
We'll have to figure that out. It's approaching fast.
Yeah.
I just hope it's not a letdown. That's all I'm saying.
Rappy.
All right. So we're going to end this week with 2 interviews that we got from New York Comic-Con this year. The first being the wife of one of my favorite filmmakers. And she is the CEO of Storm King Comics, and of course that's Sandy King Carpenter. So yeah, we got to talk to her on the floor at New York Comic-Con. Talked about the comics that Storm King has out right now, and they have a young adult line coming out, which I thought was really interesting because one of the things they said was they didn't want to talk down to kids. They wanted to talk at their level.
And they wanted to introduce things that kids understood and could fear,
right?
Not the complex type fear that we adults have, like mortgages and stuff.
Horrifying.
Yes.
Yeah.
And voting in elections.
Okay, now I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight.
So, without further ado, here is Sandy King Carpenter.
All right, so now here we are on the floor at New York Comic Con at the Storm King's Comics booth. with the one and only Sandy King Carpenter. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you.
So, I guess for our audience listening who might not be familiar with Storm Kings, how would you describe the company to in the comics to people who might be interested in reading them?
Well, Storm King overall produces our movies, our television shows, and then it has a division that's Storm King Comics.
Right.
And we started about 7 years ago with one book, Asylum.
Right.
It had ongoing characters and that kind of thing. And then we branched into the Tales for Halloween Night anthologies, which come out every October. First stories.
They're the ones I'm familiar with.
Yeah, those come out every October. First one's always written by John. Last one's always written by me. In between, it's all different stories by different writers, different artists. It's like a box of chocolates of horror. Short stories. And then after that, we launched Tales of Science Fiction. And that's a monthly floppy that comes out and then gets collected into trades. And it's a series of miniseries. So... first one was by James Ninnis, The Vault.
Okay.
Second one was by Mike Sizemore, Vortex. David J. Scow wrote one called The Standoff. And what we're premiering here is Twitch by Dwayne Straczynski.
Oh, okay. I did not realize he wrote it. I have to check that one out.
Oh, yeah.
I've been reading Twitch. It's got a Thing vibe, but only if the Thing got out. It's good. The premise is really interesting too.
Yeah, it is through the telescope.
Yeah.
The aliens
just seeing them. We're seeing something. Infects you, which is actually terrifying, really. Because how do you stop that? So
that's what Dwayne can write anything. I mean, he's awesome and has obviously proven himself in novels, short stories, and comics. And then Rich Clark did the art, and I think it rocks.
So with all the creative adventures that you've been on, you and your husband throughout the years, why did you decide to go into comics?
Because I got annoyed in a TV pitch for a series, and they were trying to make up things like it was set in Los Angeles, and then they were saying, well, couldn't it be a sleepy little town? I said, no, you just want to go non-union in North Carolina.
Okay.
And I just thought, and they said, well, it's not like we're matching to a graphic novel. And I looked at him and go, it is. And it was largely just to be contrary.
Right.
And I went home from the studio meeting, and John said, how'd it go? And I said, we're doing a comic book. And he said, what do we know about comics? I said, absolutely nothing. We'll learn. And so we spent 2 years researching the business and the art of comics, and had great help and input from people like Steve Niles, Tim Bradstreet, who we knew from encountering them in the movie world. And they helped guide the ship. Bruce Jones helped write the first one, Asylum.
Right.
And taught me the difference between comic writing and screenwriting. Page turns.
Yes.
Cliffhangers, the stuff where I'd sit there and go, I rock, and then I'd read it and go, I suck.
So I was going to ask, was that a difficult hurdle to get over? Because it is, I've heard that from a lot of creators, that once you realize, like, you have to end the page before you turn on a cliffhanger or on something important, and knowing the beats and how to hit them in a comic book is much different than hitting the beats in a screenplay.
Oh, yeah.
So did you find that difficult?
Yeah.
How did you get over that?
I probably haven't. It became a great challenge. It's a really good writing challenge, I think, for anybody that's used to writing longer form or different form entertainment. And I find it forces you to sharpen, forces you to really economize. There's no fat there because you've got to hit 22 pages and half of it's pictures.
Yes.
And you still have to, in my case, inspire fear.
Right.
That's rough.
Yeah.
Or suspense. The suspense in a comic is a nightmare.
Right.
And then hopefully what I write becomes a nightmare.
Yeah, no, that's so true. I was thinking, so Halloween's always been one of my favorite movies, but the beauty of that movie is its suspense that builds up to a climax.
It's the same thing with The Thing.
Yes.
Both of them are huge suspense movies. And that's what John does so well, and why people are so affected, because you're driven crazy by the suspense.
Right. But a lot of times in a comic, if you haven't gotten to something by the 5th page, you've kind of lost your audience.
Yeah, hopefully I keep them entertained in between.
I mean, so far, between Twitch and Surviving Nuclear War?
Nuclear Attack. Yeah, that's what Joe Harris is writing.
Yep.
They're up to issue 3 right now.
Yeah, and I've started reading that too, and it's, again, that's a really good hook right off the bat.
He's a master. I mean, he's really good.
Yeah, so
I also saw in the press release for the con that you guys have a young adult series coming out soon.
Yeah. We have samplers here because in December we start with Steve Niles' Monica Blue, a Werewolf Story. And, they're for like ages 10 up.
Okay.
So I brought in the same writers that write the adult stuff because I think most of the kids' stuff is puerile. And I wanted them to have their own level of horror, fantasy, sci-fi. That's Louise Simonson's. That part is Steve Niles, Monica Blue. Next, that one becomes Louise Simonson's.
So more
Hyperbreed.
intellectual, or more?
No, just better writing, but it's leveled at what their concerns and fears are.
Right.
Because horror is an allegorical medium that allows you to process other things about the world.
Mm-hmm.
And our other books are about adult concerns and fears.
Right.
Which are not part of the wheelhouse for kids.
Right.
So kids, it's like separation, death, outsiderism, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And these stories focus on what they're scared of, not what we're scared of. Yeah, I'm scared the country's going to go down the drain. They haven't even thought about it yet.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's an excellent point. Yeah, and sometimes in young adults series, they do have a tendency to talk down to kids, I think.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Right. It's taking the same ideas, but just making it things they're more interested in or it adapts to them.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is it's a different stage of life.
Right.
And there's certain things that are intellectual horror in nature in our anthologies or in Asylum that aren't going to translate to, the nature of faith. I don't think too many 10-year-olds are thinking about the nature of end-of-the-world stuff.
Right.
So instead, we deal with things that are more, Monica Blue becomes a werewolf. What else do we have there? Sacred Bones is a monster in the forest.
Okay.
And Hyperbreed is just a big adventure in outer space that doesn't have swear words.
So do you have young people in your life? Is that what inspired this to you to do this?
I did. My oldest son has gray hair.
Does it scare him? I mean,
I probably. It scared me the first time I saw it. But, I raised kids.
Right.
And they grew up on Spawn and Silver Surfer and Venom and those things. But there really wasn't a lot of horror.
Right. Yeah.
So I had him reading Stephen King instead.
Yeah. You got to be careful, though. Too young, that stuff could mess you up.
Yeah, but it's character. It's not the plot, it's character.
It's the characters,
what the characters' issues are.
Yes.
So there's some of those books that are fine, and some of them that are just going to be over their heads about what's really happening to the character.
True, this is very true.
It's more about that than, I think, in children's literature. We lost great teaching moments, great communication between parent and child moments when they sanitized horror.
Right.
They're all worried about Grimm's fairy tales. Do you realize how many lessons it taught how many generations of kids?
Hansel and Gretel, don't go in the woods.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Beware of strangers. I mean,
right. I mean, and I kind of feel like that's something that's happened to horror probably since the 80s up into present day, where it became more hack and slash than about being some psychological and something to think about. Like, what are you afraid of?
Well, no, fortunately, it always goes through phases.
Right.
So, the splatter porn is pretty much gone.
Yes.
I don't think many audiences are falling for the straight, slasher that didn't that there's nothing underneath because you don't care about the characters.
Right.
You have to care. Horror and comedy have a lot in common in that you have to care in order to laugh or to be scared. And so you have to bond with the characters. You have to have something going underneath that an audience can relate to so that they put themselves in the feet of either the doubter or the victim, and you give them a way in.
Guess we shouldn't mention R.L. Stine or Goosebumps, that sort of thing.
Goosebumps, I thought, did okay for what it was doing, but that was about it. I mean, it was...
Right.
There weren't many of the other...
That's right.
That's just my opinion.
And I think that's why, like, Goosebumps did raise in popularity because it was well done and it was written well for the intended audience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, Goosebumps, my kids read Goosebumps.
Yes.
I read Goosebumps.
My daughter loved Goosebumps.
Yeah. So, I mean, but it was great. But one out of,
hundreds. Yeah.
So I just felt that right now this was something we were missing doing. Also, we have guys come to the booth that, have taken their kids here to Comic-Con for the day.
Right.
And they're wanting to buy one of our adult comics. And they've got a kid with them. I had nothing for them.
Right.
I thought, okay, we're missing a bet here.
Exactly.
Have something that's for a younger audience.
Cool. All right. So we'll wrap it up. I don't want to take all your time. The question we normally like to wrap it up on is, how do you measure success?
Health and happiness.
Good. That is straight and to the point. Good answer. Yes. All right. Thank you. And real quick, where can people find the comics online?
They can come to stormkingcomics.com.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. I thought that was a good one. The next one, I wanted to talk to these two because the concept of a father and son working together on comics was interesting to me. And it is Matt and Brennan Wagner. For those who are unfamiliar with them, Matt Wagner does Grendel for Dark Horse, and they work together on Grendel's Devil's Odyssey, which is currently available from Dark Horse. I know you weren't there, JD. Are you familiar with their work?
I'm familiar with Grendel.
Yes. So it's probably one of the more popular titles from Dark Horse. So they were really cool. What did you think, John?
No, it's got to be a hard thing to do because you're trying to live up to your father while at the same time getting judged by your father.
Which he talks about a little bit in the interview. I also want to say that Dark Horse does it right. They have a special little section at their booth just to do interviews. And they had nice comfy chairs in there for us to sit on and talk to the guys.
Hell, they even offered us water.
Yeah, they even gave us water while we were talking. Dark Horse, you guys do it right.
Yeah.
Comfy chairs is critical.
Yes. But without further ado, here is Matt and Brennan Wagner.
All right. We're live.
All right.
Go for it.
All right. So we are now here on the floor with Matt and Brennan Wagner. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great, man.
Howdy, howdy.
So I think a lot of people would want to know, how is your working relationship?
Let's let the youngin' answer that.
That's good. That's good. At first, he was highly critical and not afraid to use some harsh language that I don't think he'd probably use with an unrelated peer.
You're tough.
You're tough.
So I want to ask then, do you?
I meant you can take it.
True. Yes.
Okay.
Did you take the criticism in a good fashion, or because it was your father? We're like, oh, I don't. You're not.
No,
what
he
you're talking
did.
about.
He did. In fact, I used to tell him that one of his strongest points as an artist was he would listen to criticism and he would try and incorporate that into and change his art. And
awesome.
As opposed to a lot of young artists, particularly. Get offended, or their hackles get up. And they go, well, I meant to do that. Well, whatever you meant to do, it's wrong.
Or it ain't working.
Yeah, it ain't working. Whereas he would always say, okay, yeah, you're right, and he'd try it, and he'd be like, wow, that really worked. You were right. So,
part of that is I don't think I'm very good. So, when he says this stuff, I feel like of course he's right. I'm a newbie.
Okay.
I don't know enough.
I will say yes, he is very good. But what he just said there is. I think that's a strong point for every artist to have. You should always feel in doubt of your abilities. You know, you should always. I mean, even at my stage, every time I sit down in front of a blank page, still running through the lizard part of the back of my brain is the thought: is it going to work this time? Is the magic going to work? Because it might not. It does, but there's still that little shred of doubt, and that's what inspires you to reach higher every time. You know, to not be satisfied and not just get in a rut and not just keep repeating yourself. To always try and grow and progress as an artist. And Brennan does that. You know?
I think part of that is a little bit of fear, like fear that the ability could dry up at any time if it's out of practice. So you're afraid to lose it, you know?
Right.
And when you're afraid to lose something, you fight for it.
See, according to the Dunning-Kruger effect, being doubtful of your own ability means you're actually very good.
Yeah. Okay.
So at what point, like, did you realize that you were going into this same thing with your father? And
since I could walk, really.
Really?
He used to pull me out of school to go to conventions. The con scene became pretty common for me, and I've always just loved this world. I didn't know what I was going to do in this world, and at one point I even grappled with photography for a while. I wasn't sure if I was going to get into that.
He knew he wanted to get into some sort of visual storytelling.
Right.
I never tried to say, you should do comics. If he was going to go there, that was going to be his decision, you know. He
Did you warn
flirted
him?
around with possibly filmmaking for a little while.
All kinds of art forms. You do that when you're younger, especially when you're in college, taking all these art classes, and you try something for the first time and realize, oh, that's fun.
You try and discover what is my medium, you know. And,
Ultimately, I realized I knew this world quite well. I grew up in it, and
tell the Steve Siegel story.
Yeah, Steve Siegel, one year at a con, I had
Steve Siegel, who I co-wrote Sandman Mystery Theater with for years and years.
Fantastic writer, and he married me. He was the officiant at my wedding.
Oh, awesome!
Awesome.
I presented Steve at a con many years ago with two portfolios that I had. One was all photography work, prints of my photos, photos that had been manipulated and stuff. I was using Photoshop a lot for that. And then my illustration work and my painted work, analog stuff. And he said, well, these are both, you're both very strong visuals, rule of thirds, all that intuition is there, but there's a skill to illustration that not everyone has, and a lot of people can pick up a camera so he said, don't lose that. Don't lose that skill. It's a talent, and don't lose it. And he was right. It kind of, again, with the fear, I feared losing that skill.
So, so the newest book you guys have out is Devil's Odyssey, Grendel, Devil's Odyssey. Where does that pick up in the story, and what can you tell fans that are listening?
Well, I can tell fans it's on the stands right now.
Excuse me for a second.
It takes place about 100 years after the last time we saw Grendel Prime.
Okay.
And, when I was coming back to we just finished my third and final Mage series. But, it was a culmination of a 35-year journey there, and Brennan colored that series as well. And I decided to go back to my other baby, Grendel, and we had done a lot of things over the years with Grendel Prime in this setting, this narrative, and I decided we needed a little shakeup. And I thought, let's throw him into outer space. That'll be the perfect thing, because he's a cyborg, so he's physically able to withstand the rigors of space travel, and I thought it would just be a good way to shake up the narrative. Plus, I'm always, when I enter any project, I always have a point of inspiration. And for this, I wanted to pay homage to Heavy Metal Magazine when I first discovered it when I was 15 or 16, So pretty much the first comics I had ever seen that weren't aimed at kids, that didn't adhere to the comics code, that really went in different, bold directions, that involved adult themes, that involved sex and violence.
Yeah.
And that had a very significant, lasting impact on me developmentally as a comic artist, and I really wanted to kind of pay some homage to that. And, when I explained that to Brennan, then he started looking into the older heavy metals and has used some of those as inspiration for the color schemes as well.
Mainly on the covers.
Okay. And your father writes as well as doing art. Do you have a desire to go into writing as well?
Maybe. What I really want to kind of transition over to is doing all of the art digitally. I also paint digitally.
Okay.
And I'm getting pretty competent at that. And it's a similar skill. You know,
Right.
I picked up originally the digital coloring because I was digitally manipulating photos, like I talked about.
Right.
And when I realized that I could kind of combine those elements, it just I had the tricks, the Photoshop tricks, the knowledge, and then combining it with the traditional everything that he kind of taught me and showed me growing up, the analog stuff, and it all just combined and seemed like the obvious path for me.
What do you think comparatively between the new with a lot of digital coloring, a lot of digital rendering, compared to the old original all by hand? I mean,
well, one of the things I like about Brennan's digital coloring is it feels very painterly. It feels like there's you see a human element in it, whereas I find, and I think this is what you're kind of getting at there, there's a certain impersonality to a lot of digital coloring, but Brennan's stuff feels like he's painting it, literally, with paint on canvas or on illustration board or something to that effect. It has an organic quality that I think is missing in a lot of digital stuff. He also has a nice hand at restraint, A lot of digital colorists really want to lay on all those airbrush effects and those glints and gleams, and and he knows to less is more in that respect. So
you really want to let the original line art be seen as well. You're not trying to cover up, especially in dark areas where the color is dark. You're not trying to obscure or get rid of those black marks. You still want the reader to see those.
But when you've got a new blur effect, I mean, you got to try it out, right?
What kind of advice would you have to someone who wants to enter into the arena now and do art digitally?
For coloring specifically?
For coloring or writing, either one.
Yeah, you have two generations, so...
I give this advice all the time to young wannabes: is that if you want to write, you need to read a lot, and you need to try writing. And don't aim too high. Don't try and write a novel right out of the gate, but write all the time. See what your writing accomplishes. As far as art goes, you need to draw every day. You draw every day, without fail.
And you can draw different things.
Yeah. But if you were an athlete, you'd be training almost every day.
Yeah.
If you were, with some rests because your body needs the rest. But if you were a musician, you'd be practicing your instrument every single day. And that's true of art, too. You can't just wait for when you feel like it. You got to sit down and draw. And as he said, I tell people, don't learn how to draw from comics. Learn how to draw from life. Because you not only need to draw those characters that you love, you need to draw the world they exist in. So you need to draw phones. You need to draw cats, plants, streetlights. All the stuff that initially you might not find very interesting. Well, if you sit down and draw them, you'll discover they are shapes and they are interesting in and of themselves. So learn to draw the world around you so that you can put your characters into it.
Nice.
So the way we actually sign off our podcast is we say, don't let your cape get caught in the door. Which...
Don't let your what?
Don't let your cape get caught in the door.
Got it.
Which had started off kind of as a joke, but has grown into meaning... don't let shortcomings or obstacles get in your way of achieving your goals.
Sure.
So what's an obstacle or something that you've overcome to achieve one of your goals?
Working with your kid?
Obstacles. Let's see. Well, I think this is an obstacle I overcame, kind of early, and just adopted it as my way of doing things. Yeah. Which is just to not repeat yourself, When I first did the first Grendel storyline, it was a succinct beginning, middle, and end story. Hunter Rose, the first Grendel, dies at the end of it.
Right.
Then we talked about expanding it. And I realized, the only way I could do a continuing series was I had to keep changing it all the time because it had to stay interesting to me. If it wasn't interesting to me as the creator, it wasn't going to be interesting to the readers.
It would translate to them. Yeah, they know it.
And so we really try to drastically change it every time. So I really, every time I start a new project, I'm looking to do something new. Certainly, it still looks like me. It's still my stuff. But I really try and mix things up. And I think learning to keep an open mind about your art and what you can do with it is almost the best thing you can learn as an artist. That and discipline. That and knowing that you have to sit down and you have to do it.
Do it.
Cool.
Do it. It leads to more doing. Make sure to do the work because it leads to more doing. Doing is doing.
All right. And then the question we normally wrap up on is, how do you measure success?
Yeah, this was not going to be an easy one. Yeah.
Here's how I measure success. When I was growing up, my parents had a school memories book, one of those little scrapbooks, you put your kid's picture in and you record their height and weight and all that stuff. And during the grade school years, there on the back of that section, every page, it had a little spot, what I want to be when I grow up. And one year I wrote astronaut. I assumed that was the year they landed on the moon.
Right.
Literally every other year I wrote comic book writer.
Oh, wow.
Because I was obsessed with comics. My mom let me read comics. I wrote writer because I assumed that whoever wrote them drew them too. I didn't know any better. But I'm one of the few people I know that got to grow up and do what he wanted to do when he was a little tiny kid. So I measure that as a good success.
Cool. So now all you need to do is land on the moon.
Yeah. What about you?
I don't think I'll make that one, bud.
I think it's a complicated question, and the answer is complicated. For me, I've made it. I'm married, and I'm working in comics, which is what I always wanted to do, and I work with my old man, and it's great.
Awesome.
Right, good. Success is measured by this.
Yeah.
All right, thank you guys for your time.
You bet. Thanks, you guys.
All right. Another great interview from New York Comic Con. Can't wait to go back and do it all again next year.
We only have 10 more hours to release.
Oh, no, I think we have more than that, John. I think we have more than that.
Damn.
So, yeah. So, JD, we missed you last week. You have anything you want to say before we sign off this week?
I said a lot this week.
Yes, you did.
Would you like to apologize to the other generations before we go?
Fuck them boomers, man.
Yeah, good enough.
You see those F them kids memes that are floating around? Just gotta flip that around. Fuck them grandparents.
All right. So that's JD's new sign off.
Might get that tattooed.
Oh my God. You'll be them one day. You will be them one day. Just keep that in mind.
Assuming I live that long.
I don't know. Keep writing all these books. You'll be immortal in your literature.
I like to be a vampire. I could get shit done better.
How about you, John? Anything to add before we sign off?
Nope, not a thing. Just check out Lucifer if you haven't.
There you go.
It'll give you context for Crisis, and it's absolutely not a waste of time. It's a really good show.
And I think check out Batwoman. I hope it stays consistent with the premiere episode. It was really well done, and hopefully it keeps going, and it's a good replacement for Arrow, and maybe some of those writers can move over to Supergirl. And on that note, boys and girls, as always, thanks for listening. Don't let your cape get caught in the door. Have a good week.